set a bond and give you a new court date if that is applicable to your case. Now, let me see, Ms. Harrison. Mr. Jordan, what's our reset date?
It is May the 26th, Judge.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, if you are a defendant who's been accused of a misdemeanor offense or offenses, when I address your case, please remember your very important rights. The first one is the right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court or during the course of this virtual recorded proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you either from the public defender's office or from our conflict defense list. So Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Good afternoon, Your Honors, Officer Norris.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
All right. We're going to have the add-on position, Mr. Smith. Should be the only add-on we have.
All right, just give me a moment, please. Just 1 second for a moment. Just 1 second, please. All right, I don't have an add-on case. What's Mr. Jordan? Do we have an add-on on our calendar?
That case was just accused, Judge. He was put on the felony count by mistake.
No problem. Can I get a case number, please?
It's 22 CR 002-930. And if you give me 1 second, I can let you know who the judge is.
Who's the prosecutor? Is it Ms. Waldrop?
I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yes, Judge.
Okay, do you have the designation at the end of the accusation number?
It's J, Judge.
J.
For
Okay.
Judge Besson.
All right. Just give me a moment, then, please. Thank you. I don't have that case.
I just saved it. You should be able to pull it now. Just saved it.
22 CR 00
2930J.
Okay, we are addressing Mr. Broderick Lee Smith Jr., case number 22 CR 002930J. Mr. Smith, are you Broderick Smith?
Yes, but I'm senior, ma'am. It's not junior.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's a senior. You're absolutely right. Thank
Yes,
you about
ma'am.
that. All right, thank you. And Mr. Smith, the state has brought these accusations against you from a September 23rd, 2021 incident. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent, and your attorney for this particular case is going to be Mr. Zach Findling.
Yes, ma'am.
The charges that have been brought against you are knowingly driving a motor vehicle on a suspended, canceled, or revoked registration, driving while license suspended or revoked, fleeing or attempting to elude a police officer, a misdemeanor, failure to obey a traffic control device, a stop sign, and reckless driving. These are the 5 accusations that have been brought against you, as I said, from a September 2021 incident. I'm just going to hear what your priors are. Ms. Harrison, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge.
And do we have anything on Mr. Smith?
I don't have an add-on.
All right, that's fine. Ms. Waldrop, do you have a GCIC on Mr. Smith?
Yes, Judge. We do have a GCIC. I show 56 cycles of arrests for Mr. Smith, including, well, it's various arrests, but including relevant charges such as driving while license suspended or revoked, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, among many other offenses. With regard to the state's recommendation, when it comes to bond on the suspended registration, the state's recommendation is a $500 bond. On the reckless driving, state's recommendation is a $2,500 straight bond. On the fleeing and attempting to elude, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 straight bond. On the failure to obey stop sign, the state's recommendation is a $500 bond. And on the driving with while license suspended or revoked, the state's recommendation is a $2,500 straight bond.
Okay. When were his last convictions with 56 cycles? I'm curious to know when was his last, or if you have a motor vehicle conviction record.
Yes, Judge, just hold one moment, please.
I have a 2016 driving while license suspended. The other charges are non-traffic related or convictions.
And Judge, I'm sorry, yes, I show a 2019 was the last conviction for willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. That was in November of 2019. And then that's on the GCIC. And then with regard to the driver's history, I show NOLO that appears to have been taken for improper erratic lane change. That was in 2018.
Okay. All right. Mr. Finley? Yes, sir. Good afternoon. On a bright Saturday, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Judge. Good afternoon, Judge Law. Mr. Smith is 42 years old. He is a barber. And has held stable employment at a barber shop. He has 7 kids. He is born and raised in Atlanta, Judge, and additionally has lots of family here as well. So he does have strong community ties. He does have his GED as well. On behalf of Mr. Smith, I am asking for a signature bond, Judge, but if not inclined, then a surety bond not exceeding $1,500.
All right. Thank you. On the cancel registration, the bond's going to be $500. Driving while license suspended or revoked is $1,000. Fleeing or attempting to elude a police officer is $500. Failure to obey a stop sign is $500. And reckless driving is $1,000. Mr. Jordan, what's that total?
$2,500, Judge.
3,500. That's a short.
2,500. I'm sorry, you're right. It is 3,500.
3,500. That's a surety bond. No driving unless you have a valid driver's license with adequate automobile insurance and current registration on any vehicle that you operate. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms. Next court date is May 26.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, next we got position number 13, Ms. Merida.
Catherine Merida is case number 22 CR 002-919H, accused of terroristic threats and simple assault from a May 13, 2022 incident. Ms. Merida, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Finling, Mr. Zach Finling. Any priors, Ms. Harrison?
Prior arrest, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Waldron?
Your Honor, with respect to the state's recommendation for bond on the simple assault, the state's recommendation is a $2,500 straight bond and no further contact with Mr. Marion Savov. On the terroristic threats, the state's recommendation is a $2,500 straight bond, no further contact with Mr. Marion Savove. And Your Honor, just to give a little bit of background with regard to the facts in this case, this we do believe will rise to the level of an aggravated assault. The allegation is that she threatened Mr. Savove with a knife if he did not give her money. So we do intend to seek transfer at a later date. But at this time, the state's recommendation is $2,500 straight on each count and no further contact.
All right. Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge. Miss Marita is 32 years old. She has held stable employment at Sandy Springs Family Medicine. She does share one child, with Miss Savove, and Miss Marita is born and raised in Atlanta, lots of family here. So she does have strong community ties. On behalf of Miss Marita, I'm asking for a signature bond, Judge, but if not inclined, then a surety bond not exceeding $2,000. And additionally, Judge, she would also need a one-time police escort to retrieve any belongings, and also a third-party transfer, because they do share one child together, who is 3 years old.
Okay. And this is a marital relationship, right? They're married?
Correct.
Okay. All right. On the terroristic threats, it's going to be 3,500. On the simple assault, it's going to be 10,000. It's going to be a 13,500 signature bond for pretrial services. She's going to report to pretrial once a month. And Miss Marita, this is a very high bond, but right now you're allowed to sign up for it. But if you violate the conditions of the bond, or if you get arrested again, you'll be brought back to jail, and this signature bond will be canceled and converted to either a surety bond or a cash bond only. All right. And as you've heard the prosecutor, they're planning to submit this case to the district attorney's office for consideration to upgrade it from a misdemeanor offense to a felony offense. All right. So it's very important that you comply with the conditions of the bond, because you don't want to risk losing it. Otherwise, you're back in jail. And if you come back to Fulton County Jail, please bring $13,500 with you.
Yes, ma'am.
The conditions of the bond are that you're to have, of course, no contact with Mayan Sebob, and that is MAIAN according to the warrant. You are to stay away. You cannot return to 8167 Colcourt Road, Apartment E in Sandy Springs. You're going to have to find alternative housing.
Okay.
With regards to the child, you would have to obtain a court order with regards to visitation and custody, or you can do it in accordance with a plan under defects.
Okay.
But until then, you're to have no contact with the child and with Mr. Sebob.
Okay.
You're to stay 200 yards away from them. You cannot communicate with them. Like I said, the only way is if there's a court order or a defects plan that says that you can have contact with the child. And if there's any contact with the child, it will be through third-party transfer in accordance with the defects plan or in accordance with the court order. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms. And while you are out of bond, you will attend and complete at your own expense a 4-week anger management program.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? You will report to pretrial once a month. You're not allowed to have any weapons, no firearms, or no tools that can be used as a weapon. Your next court date will be sent to you at your new address. So you need to make sure you update the court by coming down to the clerk's office with your new address within 30 days of being released.
Okay.
If you fail to give us a new address, you probably won't get notice of your next court date, and a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest, which means that you will lose your signature bond.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, we have position number 10, Mr. Hyla Gintala.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Lauren Thrasher on behalf of Mr. Hilgenthaler.
Hilgenthaler, thank you.
Yes,
All
Judge.
right. Mr. William Joseph Hilgenthaler is case number 22 CR 002-9238. Mr. Hilgenthaler has been accused of 2 misdemeanor offenses. Ms. Thrasher, have you had a chance to confer with your client before this proceeding began?
I was just retained yesterday, Your Honor. I haven't had a chance to talk with him, so I wanted to ask if it may be possible for us to go to a breakout room quickly. Or are I able to speak with him?
Take down this number.
Yes, Your Honor.
You keep your pencil in the same spot I do when I have it
It's
tied up.
always in my hair because I always know where it is.
404-612-2392.
Okay.
And that's the number directly into Courtroom 2. Officer Norris, Ms. Thrasher will have to speak to a client before we can proceed with the case. If we can put him on the side until she's had a chance. Ms. Thrasher, I'm going to waive sounding on the charges.
Yes,
So
Your Honor.
please make sure your client understands what are the charges brought against him.
I will, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Hildengalter, we will address your case shortly. If you'd like to go back and have a seat where Officer Norris directs you, your attorney will be calling you shortly.
Your Honor, does she want to speak to him now?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell her to put her number in the chat?
Oh, okay. Ms.
Because
Thrasher.
we're having issues with our telephones.
Okay. Ms. Thrasher, if you could put your cell number or
Oh.
contact number in the chat directed to Courtroom 2. Okay, I hope she heard me. She might be on the phone right now.
Next, we have Mr. James Johnson, position number 11. Come on, you can get up. Get up. Take your time. You okay? Okay. Whoa.
All right. Mr. James Johnson's case number is 22 CR 002-915E. He's been accused of battery, domestic violence, and there's another charge under domestic violence that this is position number 11, right? James Johnson? All right, it's 2 counts of battery, domestic violence. And this is from a March 3rd, 2022 incident. Mr. Johnson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Watson Cafe. Good afternoon, Miss Watson Cafe. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Harrison, do we have any priors on Mr. Johnson?
12 cycles, last arrest, January of 1997 for burglary, possession of tools for commission of crime, criminal trespass in Fulton County. No disposition listed in that arrest. His convictions are outside the 10-year period.
All right, thank you. Ms. Waldron?
Yes, Judge. With respect to the state's recommendation on bond on count 1, battery family violence, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 straight bond for the defendant to have no further contact with Ms. Teresa Harris. And on the second count of battery family violence, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 straight bond with the defendant to have no further contact with Israel Harris. We'd also ask that the defendant stay away from the incident location. And Your Honor, just a little background with regard to the facts of this case. The allegation is that he punched the minor child of Ms. Teresa Harris in the chest. And then when they got into a verbal argument, he then struck her as well, leaving visible injury on both.
All right. Ms. Waldrop, I have a Zoom panel with the name Israel. Is Ms. Harris, did she indicate she was going to be present?
Your Honor, let me check with the victim advocate. Hold
Yes,
on.
she
Okay.
said she was going to be present. That's
All
her son name, Israel.
I'm sorry, Ms. Calloway, repeat the last part.
Yes, Your Honor. Israel is the minor child
Okay,
the victim. The mom name is Teresa.
Teresa, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I see a panel with the name Israel. Unfortunately, Israel is not allowed to testify or come on screen, but if Miss Teresa Harris is on that panel, right now, I don't know what I'm looking at. It looks like, okay. I see a young lady with a t-shirt that says Subway. Are you Miss
Yes.
Teresa Harris?
Yes.
All right, Miss Harris, my name is Judge Lal, and we are addressing Mr. Johnson's case. Understand that you share 3 children with him, correct?
Yes.
All right. If you want to make a comment about the proceedings, I can allow you to do so, but I need to place you under oath. Otherwise, you also have a right to remain quiet. What would you like to do?
Not speak at this time.
All right, all right. You can go ahead and mute your screen. Excuse me. Thank you. All right. Mr. Finley?
That's me, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Watson Cafe. Sorry about that.
So Mr. Johnson is 56 years old. He's a lifelong resident of Georgia. He completed his GED. As has already been stated by pretrial, his last case apparently without a disposition was 1997, which is obviously a while ago. He's on full disability. He makes about $892 a month. He has several physical issues, as Your Honor may have seen, even from moving from the bench to the chair to be able to be heard or part of this hearing today. He had to have assistance in doing that. He has injuries to back, neck, knee, and hand, which were the basis for his disability. It's my understanding that I apologize. Ms. Harris is his primary caregiver at the time. He is not able to live on his own. We would very much oppose a stay away order from the residence, as he would have nowhere to go, number one, and a stay away from Ms. Harris, unless, of course, Ms. Harris says otherwise. This incident, as has already been noted, took place back in March. There have been no other incidents between the parties. We do deny many of the allegations that are contained in the warrant, which would be addressed at a more appropriate time. But based on his lack of history, based on his lack of resources, anything other than a signature bond at this point would be akin to no bond. He does of the $800 that he does receive, he does provide both emotionally and financially for the children, his minor children, that not only that he shares with Ms. Harris, but it's my understanding that he has other children as well.
Does he have an alternative living place?
No.
All right.
And I think that, again, Your Honor, I think due to his diminished physical state, it would be an issue. My understanding, I guess the home is set up in a way to accommodate his, limitation in moving.
All right. Thank you. Either Ms. Calloway or if Ms. Harris wants to chime in, I'm curious to know whether Ms. Harris is comfortable with him coming back to the house.
Well, per per Ms. Harris and our conversation, she said she was in agreement with him coming back to the home. She would like him to have anger management as well as parenting classes.
Okay.
And Your Honor, if I may, I'm not, my understanding is that though Ms. Harris is there because she's his primary caregiver, it is his home. I believe she has her own home, but she's winding up the affairs at the other home with the plan to move into the home.
I'm sorry, she's making plans to move into another home, or she's?
No, she currently has a separate residence now. They were in the process of having her move out of that home into the home that he is in now. But the home that he's in now, it's my understanding that is his home, not Ms. Harris's home.
Okay. Well, it really, I just need confirmation whether she lives at Abner Terrace or whether she doesn't. Ms. Harris, do you live in Abner Terrace with your children?
No, we don't live at Abner Terrace.
Have you made plans to move into Abner Terrace?
No, we moved away from Abner Terrace last month.
Okay, so you have no plans to move into Mr. Johnson's house at the present time, correct?
No, no.
Okay. That makes it
That
a
makes
tad-
it easier.
Yes, thank you. All right. Now the original charges that were brought against Mr. Johnson, the warrants were simple battery, and the state has formally accused and upgraded the charges to battery domestic violence. So these are two pretty serious charges against you, Mr. Johnson, and you're going to have to work very hard with your attorney to try to resolve these. So on the present time, your bond on each count is going to be $2,500. Your total bond is $5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. You have to have no further contact with Ms. Teresa Harris. You're not to communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. And any visitation or joint custody with the children that you share with Ms. Harris, that would have to be done through a third party. So if you have a third neutral party who's able to allow Mr. Johnson to see the three children that he shares with Ms. Harris, that is permissible. Mr. Johnson may return to the 2479 Abner Terrace location, but like I said, no contact with Teresa Harris. You're to stay 200 yards away from her. Do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. And Ms. Harris, that means that if you communicate with Mr. Johnson, you're just opening him up to the liability of being arrested again. Do you understand? All right. No drugs, no illegal drugs, only prescription medication if you're required to take them, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. You will report to pretrial once a month. And while you are released on pretrial services, you will undertake the one-day anger awareness program that pretrial offers. And that's it. Your next court date will be sent to you at your Abner Terrace location. Thank you.
Your Honor, what was that bond amount?
$2,500 on each count, $5,000 signature bond through pretrial.
Thank you.
Ms. Thrasher, did you get the message about your cell number?
Yes, Your Honor, and my client and I just spoke, so everything is good.
Okay.
Yeah, tell her that delete to the mob one, because I want to get stuck again.
That's what your attorney.
Officer Norris, if we can have Mr. Hilgenthal, please.
Yeah, he's on his way up now.
Your Honor, may I be excused?
Ms. Watson Cafe, definitely. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
All right, Mr. Hilgenthal, you've had a moment to confer with your attorney. I'd just like to remind you that you've been advised of your right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Has your counsel made you aware of the two charges brought against you stemming from a February 26, 2022 incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Harrison, any priors?
4 cycles with history in New York, Iowa, and North Carolina. Last arrest, July of 2019, for driving while intoxicated and aggravated DWI in Lake Placide, New York. That was a misdemeanor conviction, a 2011 North Carolina misdemeanor conviction for disorderly conduct, and a 2016 public intoxication misdemeanor conviction. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Waldron, what's the state's position on this case?
And yes, Your Honor, this will actually be
Oh,
my.
I'm sorry, Mr. Carr, yes. Mr.
Good
Carr?
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, for the sexual battery, the state's recommending a.
Ooh, we're going to waive sounding on those charges.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
All right. What's the
I
recommendation?
apologize.
That's right.
Yes. For the first count, we're going to do a $4,000 surety bond, state's recommendation. And for the second charge, a $2,500 surety bond, no contact with the victim, Brittany Burdett, Burdett, a stay away from the incident location, 241 Chattahoochee Road, that's the Scofflaw Brewery, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. Your Honor, in this case, the defendant and the victim do not know each other, complete strangers. When the first act was committed, after that was committed, the victim had turned away from him. And at that point, he punched her in the face and spit on her. She fell to the ground and he continuously kicked her. And at that point is when he left the scene. Your Honor, just given the nature of these charges and, the injuries that this victim in this case sustained, we believe this is the appropriate plea recommendation.
All right, thank you. Ms. Thrasher.
Yes, Your Honor. To give you a little bit of background about my client, Will, he is 33 years old. He's originally from Rochester, New York, which is why you will see some criminal history from up there. But most recently, he's lived in Valdosta, Georgia. He is a high school teacher and football coach. He is from a large family. He has his mother and father who live in Taylorsville, North Carolina, and 5 other siblings. I've already spoken to one of those siblings, and he has very strong family support and family ties. Even though they're big, they're very close. Your Honor, he does have his bachelor's in education from Greensboro College in North Carolina. He also played football there as well in high school. He was taking classes towards his master's in education, but took some time off once he got a full-time teaching job at Spring Valley High School and also at Valdosta High School. So when he is able to get some time, he is planning on receiving his master's in education. Most recently, he was going to William Penn University for that. Your Honor, like I said, he has always been interested in football and in education. He's actually in some way coached high school since 2013. And most recently, like I said, is a teacher and a football coach at Valdosta High School. Mm-hmm. Your Honor, if he were to be released, which we are hoping that he will be, he'll be living in Valdosta, Georgia. He has residence there. If he continues to live there, that is where his address will be. But otherwise, he will be living with his parents, who have been in constant contact with me since I've been retained yesterday. So, Your Honor, given his minimal criminal history, there's no felony convictions, everything that's nothing violent on there. We would be asking for a signature bond on these charges. And if the court is not comfortable with that, we would ask for a bond in the amount of no more than $3,000.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Count 1 is $2,500 and count 2 is $1,500. Total bond is set $4,000. It is a surety bond. No contact with Brittany Burdett. And Joe Schieber, Scheber, that would be Miss Schieber, Miss Burdett's spouse. And no illegal drugs, no alcoholic beverages, and no weapons and no firearms. He is to stay away from that location, I guess the restaurant location at 241 Chattahoochee Road in Northwest Atlanta. He's not to return to that location. And while he is out on bond, he'll be required to complete an ADET, an alcohol and drug evaluation. And if treatment's required, he's to submit himself to that treatment. This must be done within 60 days of release.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Ms. Thrasher, you need to file the ADE evaluation completion certificate with the court within 60 days of the release. That's going to be a condition of the bond.
Okay.
All right.
I will get that done, Your Honor.
All right. And his next court date is going to be May 26th. If he makes bond, he will be sent a new address. So you will need to file an entry of appearance, first of all. And the address we have on him at the present time is the Valdosta location. So if he returns to Valdosta, we will send a written notice of his next court date. However, if he changes his address to another alternative location, he will need to update it with the court, or you need to with the clerk's office immediately.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll file my entry as soon as it's in the e-filing system. And just to confirm, if he's out on bond, we do not have to report to the May 26th date, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Judge. I will make sure he and his family know all of that. Thank you so much, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Thrasher. All right, Mr. Hilgengotter, Hilgenthaler, your attorney will speak to you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. And that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. Thrasher, you have a great weekend. Thank you.
And thank you, Judge.
Next case, Officer Norris.
Your Honor, I put all of Mr. Finley cases to the front. We put Courtroom 3, the Spanish interpreter, in position number 1 in the breakout room. So we're going to go ahead with position number 4, Mr. David Chisholm.
Okay. Do we need to do a breakout room? I don't see the interpreter, so I assume she's already in the breakout room.
That is correct, Your Honor. Might be good to put them all 3 in the breakout room.
Officer Norris, I totally appreciate you are way ahead of the game. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Next case, please.
Position number 4, Mr. David Chisholm.
Mr. David Wayne Chisholm is accused of criminal trespass from May 8th, 2022 in case number 22 CR 002-929C. Mr. Chisholm, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Findling. Any priors, Ms. Wilson?
No prior history.
All right. Mr. Findling? Oh, excuse me, Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation for bond in this case on criminal trespass, we ask that the bond remain the same as it is at the present time, which I believe is a $1,000 good bond.
Mhm.
And we also ask that he stay away from the Hampton Inn and Suites located at 3450 Creek Point Drive.
All right. Mr. Findling, does your client have property there still?
He did not specify. Mr. Chisholm, do you have property there still? Okay, so yeah, so he'll need to return there, Judge.
Okay, what kind of property does he have there?
The entire property is fine.
Mr. Chisholm, what kind of personal items of yours are there?
Socks, underwear, clothes.
Said clothes?
Yes,
Okay, sir.
I'm just,
also the property itself.
All right, sir. So it looks like, yes, sounds like clothes and just some of his personal items.
trying to see, just one second. Don't recall him being a. Okay, Mr. Chisholm is not allowed to return to that property. I'll grant him a signature bond, but he's not allowed to return to that property. If he has any personal belongings there, he can address them in a civil lawsuit, but he's not allowed to step at the Hampton Inn and Suites. Do you understand, sir? Your bond is going to be set at $2,000. It's going to be a signature bond. Do we have a good address on? I have a Creek Point Drive. Is that a good address for you?
Judge Law, he did not have a good address to give me. I did
Okay.
state I wanted a social worker to try to get him information as soon as possible. I know that may be difficult right now, but he.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not his good address. I'm so sorry. That's the
Yeah.
address of the Hampton Inn.
Yeah. So as of right now, Judge Law, I really stressed to him that I needed an address, and he was unable to provide me one, Judge.
Ma'am, can I speak, please?
Mr. Chisholm, I'd
If you want to let us know of a good address where we
Yeah,
can
then that'd be
give
okay.
notice, you may
Yeah.
speak.
Yes. Mr. Chisholm, do you have a good address?
Yes, I haven't been back there because my car has been stolen, all the money's been stolen out of my account.
Okay. It's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. But Mr. Chisholm, you cannot return to the Hampton Inn and Suites. You need to let me know whether you understand that.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but the property is mine.
Okay, it's going to be a $1,000 surety bond. And
It's not
stop.
Mr. Chisholm,
It's going to be a $1,000 surety bond. And Mr. Findling, if you can submit the necessary evaluation documents, we will address those. He's to stay 200 yards away from the Hampton Inn Suites at, what was it, Ms. Waldrop, Creek Road Drive?
3450 Creek Point Drive, Your Honor.
Creek Point Drive
Yes.
in East Point, Georgia. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons. And his next court date's May 26th.
that's good. Thank you, Judge.
And what is this court date for?
It's your next court date, sir. I'll make sure.
May 26th.
Mhm.
The next court date is for plea and arraignment, and then to also determine whether your case goes to trial.
You have your glasses on.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm.
I don't understand.
Come on, Mr. Chisholm. We'll have a seat over there. Next, we have position number 12, Mr. Marcius. Marcius. Yup, you guys have to get up. This is court. The judge see everything. Come on. Come on.
Armando Marcias, case number is 22 CR 002916F. Mr. Marcias has been accused of operating a vehicle on a suspended, canceled, or revoked registration, reckless driving, and fleeing and attempting to elude an officer. This is from a May 13, 2022 incident. Mr. Marcias, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Findling. Ms. Harrison?
12 cycles, last arrest February 2019 for possession or transport of firearm by a convicted felon, armed robbery in College Park, Georgia. Record indicates the defendant is currently on probation for robbery and possession of firearm by convicted felon. 19 SC 1668887, sentenced December of 2019, 7 years probation. He has a 2019 criminal trespass, 2 counts, 2017 theft by shoplifting, and a 2014 criminal trespass. Felony convictions, 2016, possession of Schedule 2 and 4 controlled substance, and 2016 entering auto and theft by taking. 2 failure to appear, 1 violation of probation within the past 10 years. Nothing further.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to the recommendation for bond, the state is requesting on the suspended registration a $500 bond, on reckless driving a $2,000 straight bond, and on fleeing and attempting to elude a $3,000 straight bond.
All right. Mr. Findlay?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Marcias is 26 years old. He's most recently had a job working in construction. He is originally from Atlanta and additionally has a lot of family here. So he does have strong community ties. He does struggle financially. So we are asking for a signature bond, but if not inclined, Judge, then a surety bond not exceeding $2,000.
Right. It's 500 on the registration, count 1. It's 1,000 on the reckless driving, and it's 500 on the fleeing and attempting to elude an officer. Total bond is set at $2,000. It is a surety bond. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate automobile insurance, and proper registration on any vehicle that he operates. Next court date is May 26. Thank you, Mr. Marcias.
Next, we have position number 14, Mr. Dunga.
Mr. Maweda Peter Ndonga is accused of driving while license suspended or revoked, operating a vehicle on a canceled or revoked registration, and no automobile insurance. This is from a May 13, 2022 incident, accusation number 22 CR 002917Y. Mr. Ndonga, you need to put your mask back on and over your nose. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
All right. Mr. Ndonga, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Findling. Ms. Harrison?
11 cycles, last arrest January of 2021 for driving under the influence of alcohol in Fayette County, Georgia. No disposition listed in that arrest. Record indicates a 2013 DUI misdemeanor conviction and a 2013 driving while license suspended or revoked. Record also indicates there is a probation hold out of Valdosta, Georgia. That case number is 18 SC 08898. Nothing further to add.
I'm sorry, did you say Valdosta or Augusta?
Correct.
Valdosta.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Waldron?
Thank you, Judge. With respect to the state's recommendation on bond, on the count of driving while license suspended or revoked, the state's recommendation is a $1,500 straight bond. On the suspended registration, the state's recommendation is $500 bond. And on the no insurance, the state's recommendation is a $500 bond.
Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Ndonga is 37 years old. He does have 2 children, ages 13 and 3. The 3-year-old he does have primary custody of, and that child spends majority of its time with Mr. Ndonga. He does have stable employment. He works for Done Right. They do merchandising. He very much struggles financially. Money is an issue for him. So too high of a bond would effectively be a no bond for him. So we are asking for a signature bond, Judge, but if not inclined, then a surety bond not exceeding $1,000, excuse me.
All right. Well, it's difficult to do that considering he's already had a prior driving while license suspended and a couple of two DUI arrests. I'm not certain of the dispositions. On the driving while license suspended revoked is going to be 1,000. On this cancel registration is going to be 500, and no insurance is going to be 1,000. Total bond is set at 2,500. This is going to be a surety bond. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and current registration on any vehicle he operates. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Next court date is going to be May 26th.
Got it. Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
The rest of the cases are Mr. Ford's.
Oh, okay. Mr. Findling, you got a break. Oh, are you done? I mean,
I guess so.
you got to stick around. If you have, that's fine. Mr. Ford?
I'll stick around. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next case, please, Officer Norris.
We're just waiting for Mr. Ford to come back, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Guess they're still in the breakout room. Oh, here we go.
We
Right on time, Your Honor. Right on time.
All right, sir.
So we can go to position 1 in courtroom 3.
We have Paula Aguilera and Mr. Charles Ford. Are you available, sir? There he is. All right. Mr. Ford, we're going to address position number 1, Paula Aguilera, who is, I believe, in courtroom 3. Okay. And Ms. Chainsey, right?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon. All right, Ms. Chainsey, do you solemnly, just place you under oath, do you solemnly swear and affirm that the translation you provide will be the correct and true translation with no changes or embellishments?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Aguilera is represented by Mr. Ford, and this case number is 22CR 002922F, accused of simple battery domestic violence.
La señora Paula Aguilar está representada por el señor Ford, el caso 22CR002-922F, por golpes y lesiones simples, violencia familiar.
The incident date is May 12, 2022. And Ms. Aguilera, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and your counsel is Mr. Charles Ford.
Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor, you got cut off a little. Señor, este incidente ocurrió el 12 de mayo del 2022 y señora Aguilar, quiero decirle que usted tiene el derecho a guardar silencio. Todo lo que diga puede usarse en su contra. Usted puede ser representada por un abogado y si no puede pagar por uno, se puede nominarle uno.
Yeah, the last part was her attorney is Charles Ford.
Pero su abogado es Charles Ford.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Harrison, if you could let me know if she's got any prior arrests.
One prior, it's January of 2018, DUI and driving without a valid license in Sandy Springs, Georgia.
Señora Harrison, por favor, ¿me puede decir si tiene algún arresto anterior? Sí, el 13 de enero del 2018 por manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol y manejar sin licencia válida.
And it was no process.
Pero no se procesó.
And Ms. Waldrop, or Mr. Carr, sorry. Mr. Carr, what is your recommendation for Ms. Aguilera?
Yes, Your Honor. For the 1 count of simple battery family violence, the state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond.
Por el primer cargo de violencia familiar se pone una fianza, se recomienda de $2,000 bajo garantía. I'm sorry, sir.
Yep, and no contact with the victim Juan Valencia, Valencia.
Y no tener ningún tipo de contacto con el señor Juan Valencia.
And to stay away from the incident location, 5208 The Valley in Atlanta, Georgia, 30328.
Y que se mantenga alejada del domicilio del 2208 de Valley en Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're recommending a signature bond for Ms. Aguilar. She only has the one prior, which is a I would say, aggressive type of offense. So at this point, she has a high school graduate. She's 43 years old. And what was interesting, she's been a waitress at the La Fonda Latina restaurant for over 21 years. That's her only place of residence, so we're going to be asking for no further violent contact, Your Honor, at this time. That's her address. She does have her driver's license. It is valid. She owns her own vehicle. She does have a community tie. She did give me the information for a friend of hers who does live here in the Georgia area. She's been in Georgia for over 21 years, Your Honor. We're asking that, and pretrial has recommended that she be given a unsecured judicial release. So we're asking for a signature bond at this time.
Lo que quisiera decir es que ella sí tiene un antecedente anterior por comportamiento agresivo. Ella tiene un diploma de la secundaria, tiene edad de 43 años y ha trabajado como mesera en un restaurante por 21 años. Pedimos que no tenga ningún contacto violento. Ella posee una licencia de conducir válida y tiene su propio vehículo. También me ha dado la información de un amigo aquí en Georgia, en donde ella ha residido por 21 años y pedimos que se dé una fianza bajo firma, por favor.
Bond is going to be set at $2,500. I'm sorry, Ms. Aguilera, did you want to ask something?
Señora Aguilar, ¿quiere usted hacer alguna pregunta?
You have anything you say, your statements can and will be used against you, especially if you're going to discuss the facts of the case or the facts surrounding the case.
Quiero advertirle que todo lo que diga puede y va a ser usado en su contra, sobre todo si la información o lo que quiera decir está referido a los hechos de este caso.
Your Honor, this is Advocate Calloway. I did speak to the victim, and the victim said that he wanted the charges to be dropped. He's not afraid of the defendant, and he would like her to come back home.
Yo he hablado con la víctima y también él ha pedido, ha establecido que no le teme y que quiere que regrese a la residencia.
All right, and does the defendant want the victim home?
The victim does want the defendant home. He said they've been dating for 3 months and it was a misunderstanding. And, you know, we have spoken like 2 or 3 times already this morning. He said he really wants her home, and it's not pretty much what has been documented is not what happened.
La víctima dice que han estado saliendo por 3 meses, que todo ha sido un error, que se han estado comunicando hasta el día de hoy y que en realidad no, todo se puso de una manera que no fue la correcta como ocurrió.
Bond is set at $2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial.
Se le establece una fianza bajo firma de $2,500 a través de los servicios anteriores al juicio.
But next court date will be sent to her at the address 5208 The Valley.
La próxima notificación para que comparezca ante este tribunal va a ser enviado al domicilio 5208 The Valley.
She's to have no further violent contact with Juan Valencia.
No puede tener contacto violento con Juan Valencia más.
If there are any future violent physical or verbal altercations and the police get involved, she will be arrested again.
Si hay algún tipo de altercado violento, verbal o físico en donde intervenga la policía, ella va a ser arrestada de nuevo.
and she'll be brought back to jail with either a 2,500 surety, cash or cash bond, or no bond at all.
Y ella será traída de vuelta a la cárcel con una fianza de garantía de $2,500 o garantía de efectivo o directamente sin oportunidad de fianza.
She will complete a one-day anger awareness program with pretrial.
Y va a tener que tomar una clase de manejo de la ira a través de los servicios anteriores al juicio.
No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms.
Pero quedan prohibidas el uso de las drogas, alcohol y armas.
And if she gets arrested again, she loses her signature bond.
Y si a ella se la arresta de nuevo, ella pierde su beneficio de fianza bajo firma.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
All right. Deputy, do you have any other cases in courtroom 3?
No, this is all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Courtroom 2, who do we have? Oh, sorry, Ms. Cheney. I think that concludes it, right?
I think so, Your Honor. Thank you
Your
very
Honor,
much.
Your Honor, can she hold on for a second? But it's up to you. Position number 9 is next, Mr. Gutierrez, but his wife wants to address the court on his behalf.
Okay, understood. Ms. Cheney, please hold. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Is that who we have in the seat right now?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Juan Antonio Gutierrez is accused of DUI under the influence of alcohol and speeding from a May 13th, 2022 incident.
Señor Gutierrez.
I'm so sorry. Ms. Cheney, no. I think Mr.
English,
Gutierrez understands English, yes?
This is his wife that needs help.
Okay,
All
is she
right.
back there?
Yeah, she's back there. I'll bring her in, Your Honor.
Oh, just one second, Ms. Cheney.
What position is this, Your Honor?
This is position 9, State versus Juan Gutierrez, DUI and speeding.
Thank you, ma'am.
The case number is 22 CR 002-924A.
Thank you.
All right, as I was saying, Mr. Gutierrez, case number is 22 CR 002-924A. Mr. Gutierrez, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney and representing you presently. Please don't touch the defendant.
Can't touch him.
Step back.
Just a little bit.
Por favor, no toque al acusado. Gracias.
Thank you. As I was saying, you have a right to an attorney and your counsel is going to be Mr. Charles Ford.
Señor Juan Gutiérrez, en el caso 22 CR 002924A, usted tiene el derecho a guardar silencio porque todo lo que diga puede y será usado en su contra. Usted tiene el derecho a tener un abogado y en este caso es el señor Charles Ford.
He's been charged with DUI per se and speeding charge.
Usted tiene 2 cargos, una por exceso de velocidad y otro por manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol propiamente dicho.
Ms. Harrison?
No prior history, Judge.
Thank you.
No tiene antecedentes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, for the DUI per se, the state's requesting a $3,000 surety bond, and for the speeding charge, a $1,000 surety bond, as well as no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Se recomienda una multa de $3,000 por manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol, bajo fianza de garantía y la misma fianza de garantía, pero por $1,000 por el cargo de exceso de velocidad. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Ford, would you like Ms. Gutierrez to say something first, or would you like to proceed?
I'd ask that Ms. Gutierrez say something. I think her name is Gonzalez, maybe? Ms. Gonzalez.
All right. Senora, what is your name, please?
¿Cuál es su nombre, señora?
Maria Gonzalez.
Maria Gonzalez.
All right. Ms. Gonzalez, what would you like to tell the court? And just say a few sentences so that we can translate and then you can then continue.
Señora González, ¿qué querría decirle a esta jueza? Por favor, haga pausas, diga un par de oraciones y haga pausas, por favor.
No tengo nada que decir, solo pues quería saber por qué estaba el arrestado ¿Y cuáles eran sus derechos?
I really don't have much to say. I wanted to know why he was arrested and what his rights are.
Well, I've already explained his rights. He has a right to an attorney who's going to be speaking on his behalf.
Ya expliqué sus derechos. Él tiene el derecho a tener un abogado que va a hablar de parte de él.
He has a right to remain silent so that he does not incriminate himself.
Él tiene el derecho a guardar silencio para no autoincriminarse.
And on May 13, 2022, at about 12:25 a.m., he was stopped by Johns Creek Police and he was tested for DUI at the scene, and he allegedly did not pass the DUI test.
El 13 de mayo del 2022, a las 12:25 de la mañana, él fue detenido o lo paró la policía de Johns Creek y le hicieron un análisis para el nivel de alcohol en la sangre y no lo pasó.
And he was stopped because the police officer claims that he was speeding at 65 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone.
Y el policía alega que lo detuvo porque manejaba con exceso de velocidad de 65 millas por hora en una zona de 45 millas por hora.
Do you have any other questions?
¿Tiene alguna otra pregunta, señora?
Quería pedirle algo.
I would like to ask you something.
¿Puedo darle un beso para despedirme?
Can I give him a kiss to say goodbye?
No.
Ma'am, if you you may do so once he's released on bond, but not right now. Officer Norris, you may leave the room. Thank you.
Usted puede hacerlo, señora, cuando él está en libertad. Ahora no.
Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that's the first time that request has ever been made before me. So.
And real quick, Your Honor, I had filed a DUI less safe that I'm not sure, I forgot about it. I'm not sure if it actually went through. I know there was problems with getting that accusation in. I was just seeing if that one had.
I have
gone
two,
through.
speeding and DUI per se. If you plan to file an amended accusation by filing an addition, please do so shortly. But this will be the hiccup. If I grant him a bond and he makes bond and then there's a third charge out there, he won't be able to make bond, he won't be released. So, Mr. Carr, are you planning to add the additional charge today, or has Mr. Jordan received it? I'm sorry, Ms. Cheney, this really doesn't need to be translated.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, we have an acquisition for the charge, but it hasn't been filed down to us, so we can add it to the case.
Okay.
I tried it twice, and I'm not sure.
So the same charges came down again. We never received the less safes. If you look under the SG number, it doesn't show that it was filed down to state court. But we do have the accusation, Judge, so I can write it onto the calendar.
Okay, so you do have the accusation for less safe?
Yes.
Okay, so this will be the alternative charge to per se.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Out of abundance of caution, if Mr. Jordan, I presume that you're going to post that charge before the end of the day?
Yes, Judge, once we get it up, because we already have the accusation, we just couldn't pull the charge in electronically.
All right, then we'll address bond then. Okay, Mr. Ford, I'm so sorry. We have DUI per se, speeding, and the upcoming charge of DUI less safe.
Yes, Your Honor, and we're asking for a signature bond for Mr. Gutierrez. He's 35 years old. He's lived in Georgia for over 18 years. He's been gainfully employed at Triple Jake's Construction. He's a painter there. He has two sons. One is 15, the other one's 17. He, like I said, he has no prior cases against him. This is a driving offense, Your Honor. That's why we're asking for the signature bond. He has community support, as we've already seen. His wife lives here along with his two children. So we're asking that the recommendation of a signature bond be granted at this time.
All right, thank you. On the DUI per se, it's going to be $1,000 surety bond. On the speeding charge, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. And the upcoming charge of DUI less safe, that's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. Which means, Mr. Gutierrez, your total bond is $3,000. It is what we call a split bond. You will pay through a bonding company $1,000. They charge 10 to 15%. So your bond might be anywhere between $100 to $150. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And on the remaining charges is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. You will report to pretrial once a month. You will not consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you are not to possess any weapons or firearms. And you'll be subject to random screens by pretrial services. So they may, at a drop of a hat, call you to do a screen for alcohol and or drugs. So make sure you don't consume any while you are out on bond. You understand?
Yes.
Your next court date is going to be May 26th. If you are still in jail, we will see you on May 26th. If you have bonded out, your notice will be sent to you at your current address, and I have a Long Indian Creek address. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then look for, if you make bond, then that's where we will send you notice to appear in court.
Okay.
And I'm sure Mr. Ford, or if Mr. Ford can counsel you on this, or if you hire a private attorney, please understand that you only have limited driving privileges for the next 30 days, unless you file the appropriate appeal with the Department of Driver Services in a timely manner. Because after 30 days, your privilege to drive will be suspended.
Okay.
So keep in mind of that. So if you're driving after 30 days and you don't have proper driving privileges, you can be arrested again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Law,
Yes, sir.
what was those conditions again? I got the no alcohol, drugs, or firearms, and then you said random screens.
Random screens for alcohol and illegal drugs. And then, he can't drive if DDS suspends his privileges. All right. Yes, sir. Officer Norris, courtroom 2.
Next, we have position number 2, Mr. Alexander, Your Honor. Position number
Okay.
2.
May the interpreter be dismissed, Your Honor?
Yes, Ms. Cheney. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Your Honor.
You too. Reginald Alexander is case number 22 CR 002-920E, accused of obstruction and criminal trespass from May 13, 2022. Mr. Alexander, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Charles Ford. Ms. Harrison, any priors, please?
Second arrest. First arrest was August of 2018 for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in Houston, Texas. He was convicted of assault causes bodily injury. It was a misdemeanor conviction, nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Carr?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes. In this case, the state's asking for the obstruction charge, $1,000 surety bond down from $1,500, and a criminal trespass, $1,000 surety down from the $1,500, as well as just enforcements of any stayaways that he might have at the MARTA station. This case did take place at the Civic Center MARTA station when the defendant was refusing to leave the property and was resisting arrest when the officers were trying to get him off of that property. So we do believe that's the appropriate plea recommendation.
All right. Mr. Ford, does your client have a valid breeze card?
I don't know if he has a valid breeze card or not, Your Honor. I apologize.
All right. On the obstruction, it's going to be $1,000. On the criminal trespass is $1,000. It's a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. He's to stay away from all MARTA property in accordance with any suspension that he has. Mr. Alexander, welcome to Georgia. And if you are at any MARTA property and there's a current suspension, are you listening, or is something distracting you? I don't know if you're listening, because I can't tell from the mask whether you're asleep or awake.
I don't think you want to hear what he said.
Okay, yeah. My client should not be speaking or saying anything, Your Honor.
All I need to know is yes or no, whether he's paying attention. That's not incriminating.
Oh, I understand.
Are you paying attention, Mr. Alexander? Yes, no? Okay. Well, I'm going to assume you are paying attention because you got a release bond of $2,000 So if you have no other holds, you should be released within 24 hours, except that you cannot use our lovely MARTA property if there is a suspension in place. So do not return to any MARTA property, not the parking lot, the sidewalks, the bathrooms, the trains and buses, if there is an active suspension against you. You can always contact MARTA at Lindbergh, what's it called? Lindbergh Plaza or something like that, to find out if you've got an active suspension. If you do, stay away. If you don't, well, then you can use it legally with the breeze card and no problems. And if you're asked to leave the property, you should do so immediately. And we will see you in court. Do we have a good email or phone number on Mr. Alexander? Mr. Ford, I need a good email or phone number. Otherwise, it has to be a surety bond.
Your Honor, at this point, when I asked those questions of my client, he did not respond with a email address or address.
Okay. Let's amend it to a $500 surety bond on each count, $1,000 surety.
But Your Honor, he qualifies to go to Gateway. And so at that point, that would be.
I need contact information from him, Mr. Ford. Otherwise, we cannot monitor where he is. We can't send him his next court date. I mean, I can't just release him out into the, big bad world and not be able to reach out.
That's what I was asking, Your Honor. Could he be released to Gateway? That way he'd have an address and contact, a place to be contacted.
All right, on May 26th, if we have confirmation that Gateway will accept him, we'll reconsider bond. $1,000 surety, stay away from auto. Thank you. Officer Norris, did you get that?
And Your Honor, I was not.
Your Honor.
I was not speaking to your yes or no question. I was just letting my client know I did not want him to speak.
Oh, totally agree.
Come on. Your Honor, next we have position number 8. Mr. Richards is the first name. I can't pronounce the last.
That's fine. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Judge Law. How do I pronounce your last name? How do I pronounce your last name, Mr. Richard?
The best way you can.
How do I pronounce your last name?
The best way you can.
Tell her your last name, Richard.
Best I can do is Esinimo.
That's good.
Okay. Mr. Richard Esinimo, your case number is 22 CR 002925E. You've been accused of obstruction and possession and use of a drug-related object from May 13th, 2022. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Ford. Mr. Carr, what's the state's recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, the state is asking for the obstruction charge for a $2,000 surety bond, and for the possession of a drug-related object, a $500 surety bond, as well as no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, as well in a drug and alcohol evaluation and any recommended treatments. Your Honor, the state's concerned with this case. It looks like he has 3 or 4 open cases in Clayton County, a disorderly conduct and criminal trespass from February of this year, a theft by shoplifting and giving a false name from March of this year, and a theft by taking from April of this year, all in Clayton County, as well as 2 FTAs from 2016 in North Carolina. So Your Honor, that's the state's main concern, is that the defendant will reoffend if released.
Ms. Harrison, I'm so sorry I skipped you. Do you concur with that prior history?
Yes, Your Honor. Also, I'm showing a hold out of Alma, Georgia, for a failure to appear in 2019.
Palmetto? Is it Palmetto? Did you say Palmetto?
No, I said Alma, ALMA.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I am asking for a signature bond, and the reason for that is that he does have a few holds in different counties. With the signature bond, Your Honor, my client would be able to go and see if he could resolve those issues at this time. He is a lifetime resident of Georgia, so he's not a risk of flight at this time, Your Honor. as far as looking to reoffend, Your Honor, my client, I've spoken with him and get my notes exactly. We're talking about an obstruction charge and, Your Honor, and a drug-related charge. So I don't believe he is a risk to society at this time, but I believe he has some other issues that he needs to deal with. He is working at a company called Pitch Trash. He may have an hourly salary. I do have a solid address for him, Your Honor. So at this point, he's 25 years old. I think he should be given an opportunity to see if he could go and resolve some of the issues that are out there. These charges, I don't believe, are as severe. So at this point, we're asking for a signature bond.
You have an address, phone number, and email?
I have an address for him of 1279 Links Court, and I don't have an address. Mr. Richard, I didn't get an address. I know I asked a question. Are you prepared to give me a telephone number at this time?
678 480 6680.
6670?
6680.
80. Do you have an email address? I had asked you this as well.
No.
Okay. Your Honor, we do have a address and telephone number for my client. So we'd ask that the signature bond be granted so he can go deal with the other issues, Your Honor.
Okay, that was 678. What was the next three numbers?
678 480 6680.
Is that correct, Mr. Asinamo?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor.
All right. What's his hold? What's his current hold? And are they coming to pick him up? Ms. Harrison, does he have a specific hold, or is he just asked to?
His GCIC only indicates one, and that's in Alma, Georgia.
I don't even know where that is. Okay. Alma, Georgia. All right. It's going to be $1,000 on each count. It's a signature bond through the jail. And I'm assuming that that phone number and address are correct because we will send him notice of when to come back to court to the Hampton, Georgia location. Is that a good address to send notices, Mr. Asinamo?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Please check your mail every day and we will send you notice of when to come back to court. Best of luck.
What was the bond, Judge?
It's $1,000 on each count, signature bond through the jail.
Thank you.
Come on, man. Get out. Come on, Mr. Baker. What did you say? You said what? Oh, okay. I thought he said something else. You okay, Mr. Baker? No.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be position number 3, Your Honor, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Wendell Baker is accused of theft by taking from a May 6, 2022 incident. His case number is 22 CR 002921F. And we have a companion case, 18 CR 009768F. And 19 CR 001678F, 2 companion cases. Mr. Baker, you've been advised of your right to remain silent and your attorney is going to be Mr. Ford. Yes, Mr. Baker, do you have something to add about your bond? Because I haven't even decided one yet.
No, ma'am.
All right. So if you want to discuss the facts of your case, I recommend you let your attorney, Mr. Ford, speak because you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say right now will be recorded and used against you. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Harrison, any priors?
Yes, Judge. 56 cycles with history in Georgia, Colorado, New York, Florida, and Alabama. Last arrest was May of 2022 for possession and use of drug-related objects in Fulton County. Record indicates the defendant has open case pending for possession of marijuana less than an ounce, battery, substantial physical harm, 18 CR 009768F, and simple battery, family violence, 19 CR 001678F. Both those cases, he was granted UJR through pretrial. Pretrial is surrendering those bonds. Record also indicate the defendant is on probation in Cobb County for battery, family violence, and aggravated assault. 22-91567, sentenced April of 2022, 2 years, 5 months probation. Additional open probation in Douglas County, given false name to law enforcement officers, 21 CR 00866, sentenced October of 2021, 12 months probation. 1 violation of probation and 4 failure to appear within the past 10 years. 2018 possession for misdemeanor conviction for purchase, possession, sale of marijuana in Coweta. Nothing further to add.
Okay. Mr. Carr?
Yes, Your Honor. For this case, for the count of theft by taking, the state is asking for a $2,000 cash bond, as well as no contact with the victim, Miss Whitney Lawler, LAWLER, and a stay away from that incident location, 1955 Grandview Avenue, Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. Your Honor, the case, obviously the state's concern is the multiple open cases that he has with this court and elsewhere, as well as I have a history of theft by shopliftings as well as far back as 1981, and then 2 recent ones from 2020 and 2021. Your Honor, in this case, it was a theft case that was caught on surveillance camera. The state does believe that, along with these 4 FTAs, that, you know, that this is the appropriate bond recommendation considering the facts of this case and all his other open cases.
All right. Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think considering considering the facts of the case, Your Honor, we have a trash bags of $7. We have
$34 worth of stuff. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, $34, Your Honor, worth of items that were considered almost trash themselves at the time. And so at this point, Your Honor, we're asking for a signature bond based on pretrial's recitation that the other bonds that he has will probably be revoked. And at this point, this case, I believe, of theft by taking should be a signature bond. He does receive SSI. He is going to, he's somewhat homeless, but he is going to go to Gateway where he will have housing at that time, Your Honor. He's a 10-year resident of Georgia, and he does have community support because I have the telephone number of his sister. We ask that this case, Your Honor, be a signature bond.
$500 surety bond, stay 200 yards away from 1955 Grandview Avenue in Northwest Atlanta. No further contact with Whitney Lawler. No illegal drugs, no weapons. Thank you. Next court date is May 26. Yes, sir. Officer Norris, I'm sorry, your screen is muted.
I'm sorry, I didn't even know I was muted, y'all. It's position number 5, Mr. Cedric Lee Andre Clark.
Mr. Cedric Clark is accused of battery, domestic violence from May 12, 2022. His case number is 22 CR 002927C. Mr. Lawler, Mr. Clark, you've been advised of your right to remain silent so that you do not incriminate yourself, and on anything you say can and will be used against you. Your attorney is appointed, and that would be Mr. Charles Ford. Okay, Ms. Harrison?
20 cycles, last arrest April of 2022 for possession of controlled substance in College Park. That is an open case pending, 22 CP 208523. Record also indicates the defendant is currently on probation in Fulton County for battery and removal or attempt to remove a public official weapon. Case number 21CR003377J, sentenced July of 2021 with 12 months probation. Record indicates a 2020 misdemeanor conviction, criminal trespass, 2017 simple battery, family violence, and possession of marijuana less than an ounce, misdemeanor conviction out of Henry County. 8 violations of probation and 1 failure to appear within the past 10 years. Nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Carr?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, the state will be recommending a $6,000 surety bond, as well as no contact with the victim, and a Tria Ball, that first name is ANITRIA, as well as no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. Your Honor, in this case, to let you know, during an argument, the defendant choked the victim and pushed her to the ground. We're currently investigating, trying to get a strangulation assessment for whether or not these should be felony charges. So we're looking into that, as well as I saw a battery family violence from 2014 without a disposition. We'll be requesting that. So on these grounds, we're possibly going to be looking at felony charges. But beyond that, the fact that the defendant's on probation for a battery, he's got a previous battery family violence charge from 2017. We do believe that the $6,000 surety bond is appropriate.
I'm sorry, did you say it was a 2014 battery?
I saw a battery family violence from 2014, and I just didn't see a disposition on there. The last I saw was like transferred to Superior Court. It wasn't in Fulton. So we're going to be reaching out, trying to figure out if that was a conviction or not.
Right. Ms. Harrison, do you have any information about the 2014?
Checking now, Judge.
All right.
Was that the arrest in Henry County?
I did not check the county.
Because I did list the 2017 simple battery family violence out of Henry County.
Yeah, I saw the simple battery. I believe I saw one. It just didn't have a disposition or anything listed. I can check real quick.
I think it's the same one. It just goes on for a few pages.
Okay, it had been transferred, and then he pled to the simple battery. Is that what you're saying? It was arrested for a battery.
And there's a 2014. It was a battery family violence, but it was transferred, and no disposition was listed on that.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that was the one out of I can't remember which county. Fairburn Municipal Court, Superior. So that's the one that we would be trying to look into and investigate and see what the outcome of that case was.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we're asking for a signature bond at this time. My client is 34 years old. He's already on probation, Your Honor. So I believe that he's already being monitored at this time. He strongly disputes the facts of this particular case. He's been a long-term employee for Church's Chicken. He really wants to get back to his job. He works at the Church's Chicken on Old National. He makes a solid wage at this time. He's been a lifetime resident of Georgia, so he's not a risk of flight, and he has strong community ties and support. I do have the telephone number and address of his mother, which is his telephone number and address as well. I do have an email address. Your Honor, this is a situation of a total misunderstanding. And so at this point, I believe a signature bond should be granted so my client can continue to work and earn a solid wage.
Okay. Is Miss Bell here, Anatria Bell?
No, Your Honor, I was unable to contact her. She didn't have a good number in Odyssey.
Okay.
And Your Honor, in the incident report, just to point out, at first she had said that there was just some misunderstanding. And then once she got in the car with the EMTs, she ended up coming forward and confessing what actually happened and what the defendant was arrested for. And that's when the police came and spoke.
I don't have the incident report, but I definitely have the warrant with, well, here it is.
Yeah, it might have the same information.
And
Yeah, it's literally a cut and paste from the report to the warrant. Okay.
And Your Honor, and I don't want to debate the trial, but like I said, it is a total misunderstanding, and my client totally disputes the charges.
Okay. $2,000 surety bond. No contact with Anitria Bell. No further contact. That means stay 200 yards away from her. Do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. And you cannot reach out to her in person, through a third party, through any kind of electronic device, a phone or a computer, and definitely not on social media. You're also to not consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or any firearms. You're to also stay away, and the only address we have is 289 Fairburn Road in Atlanta, Georgia.
Or whose address is that, Your Honor?
I'm just reading it off the incident report. That's the home address we have.
For my client?
No, the alleged victim.
Oh, the alleged victim, okay.
Okay. We have an address of Old National Parkway, apartment 137, College Park. Mr. Carr, I don't know who lives there. Oh, it looks like some kind of hotel or motel. Okay. In that case, if they're living in a hotel or motel, if she's there, if she's at Old National Parkway at that motel, he cannot return if she's still occupying the premises. So it's two addresses. 2451 Old National Parkway, the motel, if she still lives there, and 289 Fairburn Road, Northwest Atlanta. That's the address listed on the incident report. Next court date's May 26. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck.
Moved up on the amount again, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
2,000 surety.
Thank you. Next, we have position 6 and position 7, Mr. Diallo.
Mr. Mahmoud Diallo has two open cases before us right now, two new open cases, and that would be 22 CR 0029268. Charged with obstruction of an officer and possession and use of drug-related object from May 13th, 2022. Mr. Diallo, your second open case is battery at a public transit vehicle or station, and that's from a May 8th, 2022 incident, case number 22 CR 0029288. With regards to both cases, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the alleged facts of the case, the statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you presently is Mr. Charles Ford from the Public Defender's Office. Ms. Harrison, any priors?
8 cycles. Last arrest August of 2021 for possession and use of drug-related objects in Fulton County. No disposition listed in that arrest. 2018 misdemeanor conviction, theft by shoplifting, and then 2018 theft by receiving stolen property. 1 violation of probation within the past 10 years. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Carr?
And yes, Your Honor. So in this case, for 22 CR 002926A, position 6, for the obstruction, the state's asking for $1,000 surety, and for the possession of a drug-related object, a $1,000 signature bond, as well as no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond, and a stay away if there are any current suspensions, considering both of these incidents did happen at different MARTA stations. And Your Honor, I do have, I'm not sure if pre-trial had the same, a criminal trespass and obstruction conviction from 2018, similar charges.
I see it. It was time served suspended. Yeah. All right, thank you. Mr. Ford? Oh, I'm sorry. What's your recommendation for the second case?
I can ask. Yes, Your Honor. And for the second case, the battery in a public transit station, recommending a $2,500 surety bond, no contact with the victim, Mr. Edwin Vega, VEGA, and again, that same stay away if there are any current suspensions. And Your Honor, we do believe it's appropriate. The defendant kicked and punched a total stranger at this MARTA station, causing him to fall to the ground and sustain different injuries. So we do believe this is the appropriate recommendation.
All right. Mr. Paul?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're asking that you adopt the recommendation of pretrial services, which is for my client to have an unsecured judicial release. As you would look at his prior history, there's no real violent crimes in his prior history. He's 27 years old. He's working part-time for Staff Zone, where he's consistently being employed as a temporary service. He has 13 years that he's lived in Georgia. I do have a number of an individual who lives in Georgia, so he does have community ties. At this time, Your Honor, we ask that the recommendation of a signature bond or some type of unsecured judicial release be granted at this time.
Right. On the obstruction of an officer, that's going to be 500, and possession and use of drug-related objects, that's going to be 500. That's $1,000 signature bond through the jail. On the battery at a public transit station, that's going to be a $2,500 surety bond. No further contact with Edwin Vega, and to stay away from all MARTA property, not just the North Avenue one, all of them, until further order of the court. You're not allowed in any MARTA property, bus station, train, parking lot, facilities, so forth. Next court date is May 26th. Thank you. All right, Officer Norris, do we have, it looks like we are done.
Mr. Tyree White, he actually bonded out.
Mr. White, okay, so he's released, so there'll be further notice for trial. And yes, I think that
should be it.
That should be it. Okay, thank you so much. You have a great weekend. Thank you.
You do the same, Your Honor.
All right. Councils, we're just going to go down the calendar. Position 1, Paula Aguilera is a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial services. Position number 2 is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Position 3, Baker.
Judge, I think you changed to 1,000 surety.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I didn't write that down. Thank you.
I wasn't going to correct you, Your Honor.
No comment. $1,000 surety bond through and stay away from all MARTA, right? Baker is a $500 surety bond, and next court date's May 26th.
Baker was a 1,000, Your Honor?
500 surety bond.
Okay, that's okay.
Reset date May 26th. David Chisholm is a $1,000 surety. Reset date May 26th. Cedric Clark is a $2,000 surety. Reset date May 26th. Position 6 is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Position 7, same defendant, is a $2,500 surety bond. Reset date May 26th. Position 8 is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Position 9 is a $3,000 split bond. Reset date May 26th. Position 10 is a $4,000 surety bond. Reset date May 26th. Position 11, Johnson, is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial, further notice. Position 12 is a $2,000 surety bond. Reset date May 26th. Position 13, Merida, is a $13,500 signature bond through pretrial. Position 14, Ndonga, is a $2,500 surety bond. Reset date May 26th. 15 is released and further notice for trial. All right. Other than the first hiccup, I think that completes the calendar. Yes?
Your Honor, I have a question. You said number 2 was what now? I'm sorry.
It was originally a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, but as we don't have any contact information on him, I amended it to a $1,000 surety bond.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, pending his admission to Gateway. So May 26th is his next court date.
Okay, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And next 2 weeks, I'll probably see some of you at 1 or 2 C calendars But till then, if I don't see y'all, happy Memorial Day, okay?
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Findling, for hanging in there.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
All
Thank
right.
you. Take care. All right.